Hello, my name is Kalsang and we are here at Cornell Creative Arts. Today we are going to learn how to use this Bailey's electric kiln. This particular kiln is 10 cubic feet, internal space of 10 cubic feet, and it uses a controller which is model V6CF series 700. So we are going to load the kiln today, and in this particular firing we are doing a bisque firing to cone 08 because I'm using stoneware and these will be fired to cone 10, and my stoneware clay is rated to cone 10, but I bisque it to about cone 08. Studio bisque is done to cone 04, and before firing the bisque kiln there are some precautions we have to take. All the pieces has to be bone dry before loading the kiln. If student work is thick and if it seems cold at touch, then we might have to add preheat before putting the instructions in the controller. In a bisque kiln, you can put similar sized bowls or similar sized cups like this. It can be touching each other, it doesn't matter, or you can place it next to each other like this or like this, touching each other. But in glaze firing nothing can be touching. No. In the bisque firing I also fire like this because all of my things are made by weight and size, so everything balances each other so it doesn't crack. But since student work is a little heavier and of many variety, we like to put it separate in the kiln. If a student is making similar things, then we can stack sometimes like this on top of each other, knowing that the top one is not too heavy and it's distributing the weight evenly to the bottom. And a smaller piece could go inside like this. Sometimes you could also do, like if you have a couple of bowls to fire and you have limited kiln space, I would like to do is to place a kiln post or something inside and then rest another bowl on top like this, and it saves more space in the kiln. Again, knowing that all the things are similar in size and not too heavy on top of each other. In the glaze firing we keep everything spaced out a little bit depending on how much space you have in the kiln and how much work you want to fill it in. Today we do not have a lot of things to put in, so we are pretty much spaced out. We do not keep anything close to the thermocouple because it might give you wrong reading if any pieces is so close to the thermocouple. There are 3 thermocouples here, and these are the elements. Okay. Also, what is important is that the kiln shelf has to be without any glaze drips. It has to be scraped, and if you want to put another shelf over this, a post should go right on top of each other. You should always have a nice gap between the shelf and the kiln elements. I would say about 1 inch. And since it is a bisque firing, we can if you have a lot of things, we can keep it touching each other. But if you have more space, then spreading out is the best, so that heat work can be even to all the pieces. So the kiln is loaded, and make sure there is nothing on the edge of the kiln. So we are closing the lid, and then we are pulling down the vent. There are two vents on this particular kiln. One is here, the switch is here, and then one is in the back of the kiln, right here. There's one switch. During bisque firing, I only use the top vent, and during glaze firing I use both the top vent and the bottom vent. Here on the controller, we are going to make sure that all the peepholes are closed. And on Bartlett controller, today we are going to use cone fire method. This is the easiest and quickest way to fire the kiln with just few clicks. Since we are doing a bisque firing, we are going to choose slow bisque. It says slow bisque, SBC, enter. It will show cone 04. If you want to change it to cone 08, because I'm going to fire it to cone 08, I will say 08, enter. Now it's showing hold. It means if you want to hold the temperature, in my case it would be 1728 or something. Do I want to hold? I don't want to hold the temperature on the peak, so I just say enter. The kiln went back to idle. If you have damp work, student work, which is a little thicker, and you are not all your work is completely bone dry, we could add a preheat. If you click twice on the menu, preheat option comes, you press enter, and it says 0.00. If I want to add a 2-hour preheat, I'll just say 200 and enter. Now the kiln went back to idle. Before firing, it is really important to review the program. We'll just do review, preheat 2-hour, cone 08, Fahrenheit 1728. And hold, we are going to do 0, delay we are going to 0, alarm, error code on, and fire. Now we can just do start, and the kiln is on. So what's happening here is right now, since the kiln is on, we are reviewing the program, which means the controller is showing you how the kiln is programmed. So in this case, the kiln is going to 1728 degrees, which is cone 08. That is a bisque temperature. I think studio bisque is done at cone 04, which is 1945. It depends on your work itself, like how much absorption you want to have during the glazing period. So some people like to do cone 04, some people like to do cone 08, depending on their needs. Studio need is cone 04, so bisque is done at cone 04. And preheat is really important to put it in, especially when you have thicker pieces, so that preheat. When you select preheat, the temperature rises 60 degrees an hour up till 200 degree, and when it reaches 200 degree, it holds the temperature. So it is right below boiling point, which is 212 degrees. So the kiln comes up to 200 degrees and holds that temperature for 2 hours. So it gives all the damp work which is inside time to dry, and it saves it from cracking and having a catastrophic failure. With this controller you could add delay, which means you could delay the kiln by delay the firing. You could set it up, and you could set it up delay 4 hours. That means the kiln will the kiln will not start right now, but it will start after 4 hours, right? And with this controller, glazing is also really easy with the cone firer. We just follow the same steps what we did on the slow bisque here. So when you do slow bisque, this is the one. When you do slow glaze, this is the one. I recommend studio work to be fired using just this slow bisque, and studio glaze to be fired by just using slow glaze, and putting preheat before with this firing. Preheat can be added only with this cone fire program. Now we are going to set it for glaze firing, studio glaze firing to cone 6. Studio clay goes to cone 6, and all the glazes are oxidation glaze. So we do cone 6 oxidation in this electric kiln. The kiln has to be in idle. If it is not in idle, you just do an enter and it comes back to idle, right? So we are going to choose slow glaze. Slow glaze, SGL, enter. The slow glaze will do cone 6. So it's cone 6, enter. And do I want to hold the temperature at cone 6? Sometimes I like to hold it for 5 minutes at peak temperature when glazing. It gives glaze sometime about 5 minutes. This is 5 hours. If you made a mistake like this, you could enter 30 and it comes back. So now I'm going to enter 6 minutes, and it went back to idle. Now I'm going to add, since sometimes students glaze their work the same day and it hasn't dried, so we are going to add about 2 hour preheat. Menu, press menu again, preheat, enter, and 2 hour, enter. We are going to review the program. Slow glaze, preheat, 2 hour, cone 6, Fahrenheit 2232. Hold for 6 minutes. Delay 0, alarm, on, firing. Now we can fire it. Start it. The relay started clicking, engaging. When the relay engages, it sends power to the elements, and elements starts heating up. We can review the program again. Slow glaze. I review it 2 times. I review it before firing 1 time, and I review it after firing 1 time. And it is always good to supervise the kiln. Like, it is always good if you are here in the studio and you fire it in the morning, and you can stay until the evening. It is good. And sometimes it is really good to put, especially in glaze firing, if you put cones inside the kiln right next to the peephole. Final temperature is reached, kiln, and see if the cone is bended. There are cones like this, which we can place it inside. This particular cone bends to about 4 o'clock at cone 012. There are cones like this, which is rated to cone 6. self-supporting cones, which we can put it inside the kiln right next to the peephole, so that we can see if the firing is going well or not. If this bends down to 4 o'clock, a perfect temperature is reached. At the end of the firing, kiln will show you the current temperature of the kiln, and it will show you how much time it took to reach that temperature. In my case, with the slow bisque, usually takes about 13 to 15 hours. Since I have added 2 hours to the program, it will take about 15 hours.